you're a fan of the Uncharted series, we've got some bad news, and we've got some possible good news for fans of The Last of Us. I'm Troy from Marks on Games, and today we're talking about remarks from Naughty Dog about two of their biggest game series. Before we begin, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to be notified whenever we post brand new videos. Now, on with the story. The article I'm covering from GameSpot.com is linked down in the video description. Naughty Dog is done with Uncharted and might not make The Last of Us 3, Neil Druckmann says. Or it might, if Naughty Dog can come up with a good enough story for it. Given the big success of The Last of Us video game series and the new HBO show, fans might be expecting Naughty Dog to make The Last of Us Part 3 in the future. That could happen. A plot outline has already been formulated, but Naughty Dog hasn't made any decisions just yet. The next Last of Us is the upcoming multiplayer title, which Naughty Dog says is its most ambitious title ever. Speaking to BuzzFeed, Naughty Dog co-president Neil Druckmann said that he considers the multiplayer game to be another chapter in the universe of The Last of Us. But what about the sequel to The Last of Us Part 2? Druckmann said that people are wondering about The Last of Us Part 3 and whether that will be a thing or not. Druckmann didn't have anything to announce, but said that Naughty Dog gets to decide which games it makes. And just because The Last of Us is a successful franchise, that doesn't mean that it will keep making more The Last of Us games. After all, Naughty Dog has said that it is done with the Uncharted series, despite the franchise's massive commercial success. Quote, "All I could say is, at Naughty Dog, we're very, very privileged that our publisher is Sony, which means Sony funds our games, supports us, and we're owned by Sony. They have supported us every step of the way to follow our passions, meaning that just because something is successful, people think there's all this pressure that we have to make a sequel. That's not the case," Druckmann said. Quote, "For us, Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 was one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put our final brushstroke on that story and say that we're done. We're moving on." Similarly, Naughty Dog could walk away from the Last of Us franchise and pursue other projects, like potentially its rumored new IP. But Naughty Dog would make another mainline Last of Us game if it had a compelling enough story behind it, Druckmann said. Quote, "It's up to us whether we want to continue The Last of Us or not. Our process is the same thing we did when we did Part 2, which is if we can come up with a compelling story that has the universal message and statement about love, just like the first and second game did, then we will tell that story," he said. Quote, "If we can't come up with something, we have a very strong ending with Part 2, and that will be the end," end quote. Just because Naughty Dog has no plans to make another Uncharted game and has the opportunity to walk away from The Last of Us, both franchises could continue with external developers. In the case of Uncharted, Naughty Dog has said it's open to the idea of an outside studio making Uncharted 5. For now, fans can look forward to new episodes of HBO's The Last of Us series every Sunday night until Season 1 wraps up on March 12th. As for The Last of Us multiplayer game, more details are expected to come this year. Despite the mixed reactions of The Last of Us Part 2, it made good amounts of money and critics lauded it. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they made a Part 3. However, I feel like they kinda wrapped up the story of Ellie with Part 2. Sure, they could keep it going, because the character of Ellie is still fairly young, but it would feel a bit unnecessary without an excellent story to back it up. Also, after the way Part 2 ended on such an ambiguous, weird, depressing downer note, they could use Part 3 to kind of bring it up a bit and have more of a redemption story for the franchise. As far as Uncharted, I beat the first game and I'm about 3/4 of the way through the second game, so I've still got plenty of Uncharted to play. This is anecdotal, but I've talked to people who've played through the entire franchise and say that the fourth game is the best of the entire series. I'm honestly excited to get to it. If they're done after 4 games, I get it. Selfishly, I want it to keep going, but I get it if they're done and they want to move on as a studio to another IP. I'm not a fan of Neil Druckmann, really. He seems a bit abrasive and a bit arrogant in certain ways as he talks about things. Some of the answers he gave in this interview kind of remind me of the way George R.R. Martin talks about whether or not he's going to finish The Winds of Winter, almost as if he's annoyed that the studio's fans want more games of their favorite titles. The nerve of these people, right? Calm down, Neil. Just be thankful. Or maybe he didn't mean it that way at all, and I'm just reading into things, and I'm a nerd. I don't know. Comment down below with what you think of all this. Were you hoping for more Uncharted and The Last of Us? Or are you satisfied with what you got already? Did you like The Last of Us Part 2? And which Uncharted game was your favorite? Also, are you a fan of The Last of Us show on HBO Max? I really don't like the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, and I'm kind of hoping that with Amazon starting their Tomb Raider universe, quote-unquote, maybe that will include an Uncharted show to link in, and us fans of the games will have some redemption there. Also, don't forget to share this video around to everyone you know, and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell to be notified every time we post brand new content. I've been Troy from Marks on Games, and we'll see you next time.